Hey, Trian here. Welcome back to the Be That Create That channel. So excited for you guys to hear what we have to talk about today because it's something that I'm seeing in our emerging leaders, and I want to try to put a stop to it. I really want to try to guide, right? So what we think about with emerging leaders, and what I've noticed is that they feel like they have to have all the answers. They feel like they have to do all the things. They have to get all the to-do lists done. They have to make sure that they're getting projects completed. They have to come up with innovative ideas to move their business or their team forward. Like they have to. And one of the things I think that we forget as leaders, and we've learned this down the road, right, is that we get to a point where we are over leading. And today I want to give you a simple shift that's going to help improve your team communication. And it's also going to take a little bit of that I have to do it all off the shoulders. So if I say stop over leading your team, it sounds a little counterintuitive, right? Because most leaders aren't thinking, I'm doing too much. They're thinking, I need to do more. I need to be better. I need to guide more clearly. But what if the real shift isn't doing more, but it's actually creating more space for your team? So here's what I see happen. A leader's in a team meeting. Someone starts sharing an idea, and before they can even finish, the leader jumps in, right? They feel like they have to guide the conversation. They feel like they have to come up with the answer. But it's either maybe to clarify or maybe to correct or maybe to move things along, but it feels productive in the moment. But what's actually happening over time is that your team members start sharing less. Others start holding back. And the leader, we end up carrying more and more of the conversation. And that's what I call overleading. It doesn't come from ego, it comes from caring. You want things to go well. You want your team to succeed. You want to keep everything on track. But in doing that, you may be even unintentionally taking up the space that your team needs to share those ideas to grow. I worked with a leader who said, my team doesn't bring ideas anymore. And when we listened to a recording of one of her meetings, she was answering her own questions within seconds. There was no pause. There was no space. So what we had to do is just make this simple shift. And she started just waiting 5 seconds before she responded. Within a couple weeks, her team, they started speaking up again. They started sharing ideas because they weren't afraid that they were going to get cut off. They weren't afraid that they were going to be considered wrong. And she was leaving literally an open space for them to do that. Another leader told me, I feel like I'm the only one solving problems. I wanted to say, amen, sister, you put yourself in that spot. I didn't. We said it a little differently, but that's exactly what I was thinking is you're the only one solving problems because you're the only one you're allowing to solve problems. But when we looked a little bit closer, every time someone brought a challenge, she immediately jumped into solution mode. It wasn't so what do you think? So the team stopped thinking ahead because they knew that this leader would be the one to handle it no matter what came up. And when she shifted to asking, what do you think that we should do? Everything changed. When my team comes to me with a problem, they know already that, I would love to help them in any way. However, give me some context and also bring me 3 ideas that you have for a solution. And then let's pick the one that sounds the best. We'll go from there. And if it doesn't work, then we go back to the other 2 and we start again. But keep them involved in that decision making after the ideas have come up. Or you're not only taking away their opportunities to grow, but you're taking away the opportunity of the business to maybe look at something differently than we've looked at it before. This is just a simple shift that's going to improve team communication that starts with you, but it's going to be a trickle effect throughout the company because you're giving less of an immediate response, you're creating more intentional space, and they're going to start having some of these conversations with other people they work with, and your team already has insight. They just need the room to share it. They have value. They just need the space to be able to show you that. You're going to build trust. You're going to grow your team, develop them personally and professionally, and just so happen to advance your business as well. So here's one thing that you could implement immediately. At your next meeting or conversation or one-on-one, pause for 3 or 5 seconds before you respond. It will feel like it is an eternity. It might even start to feel uncomfortable, but that pause, that is where your team gets to step in and shine. That's where ideas come forward, and that is where ownership is going to begin. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, I might be overleading, that might be me, I don't even realize where, but I have a feeling that I'm doing that. I would love to invite you to do a leadership strategy call with me. These one-on-ones are simple, 147. We spend an hour together. We're very pointed on how we can best lead our communication with our teams. And we look at how you're currently leading your team. We identify where communication may be breaking down. We create some simple, practical shifts that you can implement right away so that you can really stop being the leader that just carries everything on your own, and you're going to start building some accountability and value within your team. So go ahead and look down in the show notes so that you can schedule that for yourself. That link is going to be down below, and I would love to support you in this, in your next level of leadership. If this episode resonated with you in any way, I encourage you to share it with a fellow leader or someone who is on your team that you're working in development with right now. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next conversation, and it'll come up in your play nexts. But because leadership isn't about having all the answers all the time, it's about creating space where better answers can emerge, better answers can come from your team. And again, you're not only building trust with them, but you are building and empowering them as a leader as well. And that is a trickle effect that can go throughout their entire, even personal life, not just benefit your business or your team. All right, I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and spend time with me on the podcast today. If there's anything that I can help you with, hello@bethatcreatethat.com is where you can send a message to us, and we'll talk to you soon.